Hi, I'm Sean Toomey, and in this video I'm going to give you an overview and an explanation of the different settings and shooting modes on the Canon Powershot SX730. Now, this was a question that one of my viewers left in the comments, so thanks for leaving the question. If you have any other questions, make sure to leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Do keep in mind that I'm not employed by Canon, I'm not a Canon representative, I'm not being paid for this video, this is not an ad. I do this in my own spare time to help people like you to get the most out of their gear. I do use affiliate links in my description, so if you do click through any of those links and make a purchase on Amazon, I do make a small commission at no expense to you. So the advice that I'm sharing is purely from my own experience. I hope this video is useful. So yeah, let's jump in. So if we have a look at the camera, the first thing you'll see at the top is this dial. And this is where you can choose your different shooting modes. Now, first of all, the auto is generally what I use for photographs if I'm just out and about taking photos. So let me power this guy on, which is the on-off button here at the top. That'll extend the lens so we can see our subject. First of all, you'll notice that we have some information on the display at the top showing us our battery status and then various settings that are active. Now this information, if I just tap to reactivate the display, this information we can hide by pushing the info button at the bottom of the wheel. So if you toggle that, you can actually turn that off, and yeah, you pretty much turn that on and off using that button. So let's leave that on for now. So as I said, for shooting any photographs, and if you don't want to mess around with any settings, you just want to point and shoot, then always choose the auto setting for your general shooting mode. Then if you are filming or if you are vlogging, then the setting to use is the little camera setting. So we just move this dial and you'll see that it actually shows you on the display which mode has been selected. Now you'll see that it's cropped the image to a 16:9, and now we can start filming by hitting the record button at the top here, and now we are creating a video clip. And then to stop, you hit that same button in the corner and then it writes to the disk. So 90% of the time I'm actually using those two shooting modes. I toggle between video. If I'm shooting video, I make sure it's on the camera, and if I'm shooting photos, then I make sure I am on the auto. Then while we're back on the auto, I want to show you the in-depth settings that are available to us. So if I click the middle button, the functions set button on the right, we will see a few settings that come up on the left here. And first of all, we have got the timer. So if we tap right, currently the self timer is off. We can activate that by setting 10 seconds, 2 seconds, and a custom timer. So just to give you a quick example, if we set that to 2 seconds, obviously if you have got the camera on a tripod, you can now push the shutter button and it'll wait 2 seconds and it'll take the photo. Now that is the first thing you can activate and use. The 10-second timer, obviously if you need it to wait longer, you can hit the shutter button and it'll wait, and you'll see the flashing light will keep flashing quicker, and that obviously helps you to know when the camera will take the shot to make sure everyone's smiling. So there we go. To deactivate that, we want to put that off for now. Then the next setting, this is the drive mode, set to single or continuous shooting. Now the one thing with this camera is it rarely has the instructions inside of the software. So as you scroll through these, you can actually read what all these settings do. But on this one, you can obviously use the single shooting mode, where if you push down on the shutter button, it takes a single photo. Then the next one is auto drive, adapt to scene, shoots continuous or composite. And then the last one is just continuous. So just to give you an example, if we activate this one and I hold down the button, it'll just keep shooting photos. So I probably shot about 5 or 10 photos in that second. So I generally just keep it on a single shot if I'm taking photos. The next setting is the aspect ratio. By default, I believe this is on 4:3, which is what you're looking at now. You can change this to 1:1, which is obviously a square if you're shooting specifically for Instagram or that dimension. Then you also have the option of 3:2, and you can even have 16:9. But usually I leave this on 4:3, that is the default. Moving on, this is the recording pixels. So this is the resolution of the image that you're creating, and here you have some options. First of all, L, I believe, stands for large, and that is 5,184 times 3,888. And at this ratio, currently I have got 5,442 shots remaining. If you're creating photos that you need to print, then obviously this is important. It says for printing up to A2 size. So medium 1 is slightly smaller, and M2 is again slightly smaller, and then S is the smallest. So that's ideal for sending as email attachments. So if you're shooting purely for email attachments and you don't need high resolution, then by all means change it to S. I generally keep it on the L and I shoot the highest resolution. But this, keep in mind, this obviously uses up of your SD card space. So if you don't have a big SD card in your camera and you need to take a lot of photos, this is great to change the setting based on your requirements. So next we have movie quality, and this is obviously where you can set your movie quality. And here the options are full HD at 30 frames per second, which is what I use. And that is 1920 times 1080, 30 frames per second. And again, it shows us how much time is remaining at this quality. Then we've got HD quality at 30 frames per second. That's 1280 pixels times 720. And the last option is 640 times 480 at 30 frames per second. I usually leave it on this one, so I press OK. Now the other thing I quickly wanted to mention was that if you are on this auto mode, you can actually just start filming. So instead of taking a photo, here we can push the shutter button and just take a photo. What we can also do is we can just hit the video button, top right here, and the camera will start filming. You'll see that it'll crop to 16:9 and it'll start creating a little video clip. And then again, you can push to stop that. So this is very useful, and if you are in the camera mode, the photo mode, and you quickly want to shoot a video clip, by all means, you don't have to first change to the video setting. But I have found that there is a difference in the quality. And I generally now just always switch to video mode when shooting videos. So play around with that and see if there's a difference in the quality, but I would recommend generally switching to video if you are shooting video. But know that you can just start filming a video from this mode. Obviously, the other things to view your pictures, you would just push this play button. This switches over to the viewing mode, and now you can toggle left and right. What you can also do, while this is a video, to preview this video, you push the function button twice to play the video. And then if you want to increase the audio, you would push up. There you can hear my voice. We can toggle left and right. That was a video I shot earlier today. Again, if we want to preview this, we push the middle button twice, and I can increase or decrease the volume. And if I want to stop the video, I just push menu. So yeah, we can just toggle around. If we look at a picture here, and even on this display now, I believe we can use the info button to display different information. So there it shows us the graph and the settings that we used for this image, and there it removes all the other information to just show you the image. And when you're viewing the image in the preview mode on the camera, you can use the zoom lever up here to zoom in and out, and zoom right up into your image, and then left and right you can scroll around. Great. And then to go back to shooting mode, you simply tap the shutter. So you push it half down, and that'll expand your viewfinder again, and you're back to shooting mode. Now there are a few more on-screen settings that I want to show you and want to make you aware of. If we switch to the video mode, so if you click on the functions button, the middle button, we'll pop out these on-screen options, and you'll notice those two additional settings at the top. The top one is My Colors, adjust image colors to your preference. And here there are a few presets. If we scroll to the right, if we scroll down, there's one called Vivid, there's one called Neutral, there's one called Sepia, this one's Black and White, Positive Film, Lighter Skin Tone, Darker Skin Tone, Vivid Blue, Vivid Green, Vivid Red, and then Custom Color. So these are all color presets that you can apply to your video footage. I was actually shooting for a while and I didn't know that it was set to Vivid. It was on Vivid, and all the footage I was shooting was very high in contrast. So in the edit I had to reduce the contrast, and then eventually I noticed that this setting was actually on Vivid. So I always shoot with off, and then I do any color grading in my edit. But if you want to choose one of these color presets, then by all means take a look at them and select one of them. If you want to shoot black and white and you want your raw footage to be in black and white, or one of these other presets, definitely check this out. Then below that we have got white balance, and keeps colors accurate in different lighting. So here you can choose different presets as well. You can choose daylight, this is cloudy, tungsten, fluorescent, fluorescent H, and then custom. So yeah, play around with these presets and see what works best for you. If we scroll down, these other settings are the same from what I showed you at the beginning of the video. If I choose any other shooting mode, for example, let's go to manual, gives us most flexibility. If I enable the on-screen options, again, they also see there's an additional option there as well that we can check out. This was light metering. So set brightness based on overall scene, center weighted average, and then spot, set brightness based on area inside frame. So just be aware of these additional settings, have a look at them, and yeah, use whatever works best for you. Then let's quickly look at the menu. So if I push menu, this will obviously give us more in-depth controls and settings. So we've got digital zoom. I generally leave that off. I'm not a big fan of digital zoom because it just pixelates the video and the photo, so I leave that off. You've got autofocus assist beam, that I leave on definitely. Then there are flash settings that you can tap into. Red eye lamp on off, I just leave this on. Then you've got various other options here. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what these all are. But then grid lines, you can put grid lines on or off. I generally like the grid lines because then I can compose my picture. If you want to use the rule of thirds, for example, put the mug down there at the bottom. So I generally keep grid lines on. That's obviously your choice. Then you've got reverse display on off. That is, yeah, it just reverses the image of the display. I'm not going to activate and test all of these now. You can play around with these. Then you've got IS settings. You've got auto level, display area, date stamp, face ID settings. Yeah, most of these I just leave them as they are. And then if we go back to the top and we go to the right, then I generally mute the sounds of the camera. I don't like the camera making too many sounds. Then hints and tips are on. I guess, yeah, that's all the text that I was reading out early on. You can put that off if you don't want to see at the bottom there, display hints and tips. So that we can put off for now. Then you can set the date and time, you can set the time zone, lens retraction, like how long the camera waits before the lens is retracted. Eco mode is currently off. Well, let's quickly put hints and tips on again so that we see what eco mode is. Operates with normal power consumption. Okay, that just saves your battery and stuff. Power saving, the brightness of the display is useful. So here you can decrease the brightness or you can increase the brightness. Just keep in mind that this uses your battery. So usually I keep it at about 3 or even 2, depending on what I need. And then you've got startup image is on. That just shows, I believe, the Canon logo. And then here you can format your SD card. So if you tap into this, you can format memory card and push OK, and then it will format your memory card and erase all images and footage. I'm not going to do that now. Then file numbering I leave as continuous. Folder monthly units, for me that would be meters and centimeters, but you can change it to feet and inches. And then video system, also I choose PAL instead of NTSC, but depending what region you're filming for, then you can obviously change that. And then you've got your wireless settings. I'm not going to go into that in this video. And then GPS settings. Yeah, just go through these. There's a lot you can do. And then I push menu to go back to the live preview. So looking at a few of the other buttons right off the bat here, you've got the macro focus, I believe that is. So if I push this button, it will do absolutely nothing when I am in the auto mode, because the camera changes this itself, I believe. So there we go, the top left, you can see the icon change to the flower. So depending how close I am, so there it changes back to the hand. But if I move really close into a subject, it automatically changes to macro, and then I can take a macro shot. So that's great on the auto. I'll get back to that one just now. And then flash, again, on the auto mode, it does nothing. If you do think you need the flash in the auto mode, then you obviously have to pop it, which you do on the left here. So here you simply push forward this lever, and then it pops up the compact flash. Someone actually asked me in the comments as well if the screen gets in the way of the flash. So, because this model obviously lets you flip up the screen, so I can demonstrate this on this video, and it actually doesn't, so it works perfectly. So there we go. That works well. So now if you are in a low lit environment, then make sure to pop the flash, and then the camera will automatically fire the flash if it is needed. The one challenge when you're in auto mode is that you cannot force the flash to go off. So now if I take a picture, you'll notice that the flash didn't go off because obviously there's enough light, so the camera doesn't need the flash. So let's just pop that down for now, and we can even see there that it shows that the flash is disabled even when you pop it up. Okay, now it's set to auto, but it's not firing because there's enough light. Then at the top here we've got, this also does nothing right now, this button, and this one on the left does. Okay, I actually select face to track. This tracks someone's face. To be honest with you, I've never used this function, so I have not read up about this one. If you want all the specific details, then make sure to read the entire manual for this camera, which most people don't do, which is fine. You don't need to. Just figure out what works for you, and then as you need to learn more, you learn more. And then at the top here, this is if you want to connect the camera to your mobile phone. That button is the button you use when you want to connect your smartphone to the camera using the Canon app. So you push that button and it tells you what to connect to. For me, that would be iPhone. I'm going to tap back to shooting mode. That sums up these buttons. So now what's important to understand is these different shooting modes at the top. And we're going to toggle through them quickly, and we're going to just use the screen to actually tell us what they are. So that's auto. First of all, we've got creative shot. This shoots still and movies with automatic creative effects. I've used this partially, but I don't ever use this, but here's an example of what it does. So you shoot a picture, it takes about 5 photos, and there you can see the result. It crops in and adds colors and does all sorts of stuff, and now you've got a whole set of images to choose from. It's pretty much the camera being extremely creative without you doing anything. Again, as I said, I don't really use that function ever. If anything, it's by mistake. Then the next one is self-portrait. Shoot self-portraits with adjustable portrait effects. So now it's processing again. So there we go, that's the result of the portrait mode. I can't really tell if that's any better, but it's there if you want to use them. That's the most important thing. So moving on, we have the sports mode, and this is important because this activates continuous shot. So if you are shooting sports or something that is fast moving, then this is the quickest way to activate the settings. So this puts on autofocus and it enables the continuous shooting. So again, like early on, if I now push down, it'll just keep taking photos. But strangely enough, it doesn't shoot as quickly as it did when I was on the auto mode and I enabled it in the settings. So that was quite interesting. But that would be your shooting mode for sports scenes. Then the next one is miniature effect, blurs top and bottom for miniaturized effect. This is sort of similar to the Instagram filter, if you know that one. So I can take a picture of this mug, and now if we look carefully, the top and the bottom should be blurred and the image should look miniaturized, which, cool, if that's the effect you're going for, by all means use that. Then the next one is obviously camera. We've spoken about that one. And now let's go back to auto and go the other direction. Hybrid auto, create a digest movie when shooting still images. So, right, this one is, in this mode, there's no operation or focus sound. So this one is when you take a picture, it also creates a short little video snippet. So let's just do an example of this. So there we go. If we now view the result, we hit play and we can play the movie. And there's the photo. So from when you hit the shutter button, it records a movie and then it also takes a photo. So this is if you're maybe traveling and you want to just remain in the moment, but you want to capture photos and a little bit of video every time, and you want to just put it all together, this is a great mode to use. Great, now we're back in shooting mode, and now let's have a look at P. This P stands for program, and you can program various aspects. For example, we can manually set the macro setting, or we can enable manual focus, which if we enable that, we can now use this wheel to focus. Again, this is if you want to start getting creative, then use these. I personally don't use these. And let's just go back to, that's normal and that is macro. So this is where you set the camera to macro. I'm just going to leave it a normal right now. And then the other thing is you actually can't change the flash in the setting. And here you can, I push that top button, you can change the aperture, I believe. And the nice thing with the display is it always actually gives you that preview of what it's going to look like. So you can adjust it based on what you want, and then you can shoot your image. So that is program. I'm going to move on to TV. Shutter, this is set shutter speed, camera will select aperture. So here you can set your shutter speed and the camera will select the aperture. And you'll see at the bottom there it says 2.5, and if we now turn the wheel, we can reduce the shutter speed. So if we want the shutter to only open for a very short amount of time, then you turn it to the right, and if you want to create a long exposure image, you turn it to the left, and the max, I believe, is 15. So this is if you're shooting at night, you want to shoot the night sky, the stars, you should use a tripod for that, otherwise everything will be blurry. So this is where you can set up a long exposure. And now let's not do 15, but I'll give you an example. If I do 2.5, it's showing a preview of what we're going to see. So if I now hit the shutter button, the camera will record for a few seconds and then create the image. It'll be completely blown out now because obviously it's letting in a lot of light. Then moving on to AV is set aperture, camera will select shutter speed. So this is just the other way around. So now the camera will select the shutter speed and you can select the aperture. And again, we use these rings to choose the aperture. That's the range from f3.3 to f8.0. I recommend playing around with these settings, but just keep in mind that on this setting, you can change the aperture, the camera sets the shutter speed. On the other one, you set the shutter speed and the camera sets the aperture. So it sort of gives you half control. And then moving on to the last one is M for complete manual, set aperture and shutter speed for max flexibility. So this gives you the most creative control. And with this option, you can now change the shutter speed on the left. You can see those numbers change there. There, if you push that top button, the top of the round circle, you can switch between shutter speed and aperture. So here you can select your aperture and then create your perfect combination. On the right here, it shows you that little graph. And then you can create your image using complete manual settings. That's a little bit blown out. So there we go. That gives you an idea of what these manual settings let you do. If I go back to auto, you obviously know that this is the zoom lever. You can zoom in and you can zoom out, make use of that power zoom. And I believe that is it for now. What else can I show you? On the side, you can access your ports here, your mini HDMI and your data transfer cable, USB. And I'm just going to power off the camera. On the right, we've got the lever to pop out the flash. And at the bottom, we have got the battery compartment and the SD compartment. So you just push that to the side, it pops open. Here you can remove the battery. Again, there's just a little red thing that you need to push to the side. You can get out the battery to replace the battery. This is my extra spare battery, which I recommend you buy. And then there is the SD card, which you can also pop out like that. And it's always the gold strips face away from you. You just pop it in until it clicks. And the battery goes in this way. Line it up with the metal strips. You just push it in until that red thing clicks into place. Close this, and then you push that lever to the right. There we go. And yeah, the screen is obviously the flip screen. Be careful that you don't overextend it. You don't want to break it. So that's it. That wraps up this video. I hope that was useful. If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to see future videos. And if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below. As always, I leave all the links in the description below, so make sure to click through to those. Thanks for watching. I'm Sean Toomey, wishing you an awesome day, and I'll chat to you soon. Cheers.